Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Biz Bites session with Nutter. We hope you can all hear us. If you have any technical issues or questions or comments, please feel free to put those questions in the chat feature, which should be on the right of your screen. And we'll take a look at those and try and make sure we're responding to things in real time. So we have a great session today. I'll introduce the panelists and we'll do a little bit of 10 seconds on kind of our bios, and then we'll jump right in. And again, please feel free to ask questions while we're talking. So my name is Jeremy Halpern. I am a partner and the co-chair of the food and beverage group at Nutter, one of the large law firms based in Boston with a client group all over the world, but certainly all over the United States. And we are a full serve shop. We represent clients across a whole range of problems and areas, including corporate finance, a lot of commercial work around distribution, marketing, co-packing, all of those kinds of issues, and a lot of intellectual property work and M&A work as well, which is the goal for a lot of the brands who might be on the call today. Just some quick slides of some of the brands we work with. We work with some early stage folks and folks who have kind of gotten money and have moved on to the next level, and then some of the larger brands. I'm very grateful we made sure that Cauliflower Foods was on that slide. We also work with some very mature brands. Some of them are family owned, some of them are private equity owned, and that are household names. And our practice extends beyond brand companies to also work with retailers, distributors, some technology companies in the space, people who are innovating whole new models of how they're getting food and beverages to the world. We have a large team of folks here. It's about 30 people strong who do a lot of their time and energy in the food and beverage space. And so if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any of the people here at Nutter. We're always happy to chat and answer questions. With that, I want to just make a quick note. I'll do it again at the end of the session as well. But if you're looking for additional content, at the end of June, we'll be hosting a virtualized event that we normally host live in person at Fancy Foods in New York with our friends at Green Circle Capital. That will be on Monday, June 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we are trying to accommodate a national audience. So we did go for later in the day. Please do join us. It will be a great session. With that, I want to let Cambria and Amy introduce themselves. They're going to do a far better job of it than I will. So Cambria, maybe we could start with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Cambria Copeland. I am the Senior Director of Business Management at Beekeeper Marketing. We are an Amazon General Management agency and we're actually part of the digital technology group at Advantage Solutions, otherwise known as Advantage Sales and Marketing. So I've actually been working in e-commerce for about 12 years, 8 years with Beekeeper, and prior to that I was working in-house for a startup CPG brand. One note to make before I hand it over to Amy is 95% of our business is in the consumable space, so we kind of grew up in the natural and organic space as well. We also work with conventional brands, health and personal care, grocery, and then even some hard lines as well.
Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Lacey. Jeremy, thank you for having me on. I absolutely adore you and Will and Nutter, so I'm honored to be here today. I am the founder of Cauliflower Foods, and we were one of the first cauliflower products in the market to create what is now a billion-dollar category, really. There's over 70 products. And I'm honored to start at Farmers Market as a way to cure my lupus using food as medicine, which then went on to go to be a robust e-commerce brand and now is nationwide in grocery.
Thank you guys both so much for being here today. So each of you has prepared some slides to just talk through some issues, but as a broad overview, one of the things we're trying to help brands think about today are what are the real strengths and weaknesses or positives and negatives of building an e-commerce or direct-to-consumer platform, and some of the opportunities and risks that those things present. And then also a little bit about, to the extent that you can contextualize it in the current environment, in this kind of crisis environment, what's happening with those issues, how are they playing out in this real-time environment. But probably all of us are trying to plan for a longer term horizon. And so most of the presentation today is going to be a little bit more about how do brands win over the long haul? How do you build a brand that will become attractive to consumers? And how do you build a brand that will ultimately become attractive to acquirers and help you realize kind of the economic gain of the venture that all the brands who are participating today have started. So with that, I think we're going to turn it over to Cambria first.
Great.
And just ask her to talk a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace right now in particular, but also, Cambria, if you can help people understand, what is it you guys do inside the Amazon environment, and then also what happens outside that Amazon environment, what's going on, and what does e-commerce mean for these brands in both kinds of platforms?
Sure. So I'd love to start with kind of telling you a little bit more about who Beekeeper is and what we do. So like I mentioned before, we are an Amazon-focused general management agency. So we live and breathe Amazon, really think of ourselves as thought leaders and thought partners for our clients. So we've been doing this for over 12 years and mostly focused in the CPG space. But like I said, we also play in some hard lines as well, and anywhere from the national organic startups all the way to large CPGs as well. So just a few of our credentials to call out. We are actually, in terms of media, we are a managed partner of Amazon Advertising. That means that we have regular meetings with them. There's a number of KPIs that we need to meet in order to remain as one of their partners as well. We've been part of their joint business planning. We've had we serve as one of their beta testers, so we actually get access to a lot of really cool new things to the advertising platforms before it's generally released to the regular, just kind of general vendor or seller population at Amazon. And we're able to test those things out and provide them feedback. One key thing to call out is that we've actually been a beta tester for their advertising API since 2017. What that means is we've developed technology to manage our clients' media campaigns using the data that we're able to extract from Amazon's portal. If we didn't have this, it would take us a very, very long time to do this. So we've been able to do really, really cool things with that. I won't spend a lot of time on that. I could talk for hours on that, but I do also want to call out that we work with Amazon Fresh and Prime Now as one of their approved agency partners through their agency program. So while we can't promise our clients that we can get everything in or get everybody in, Fresh has become, has really gone through a lot of iterations over the years and has really landed on a really great program that they're now growing and able to expand into more and more markets. And certainly COVID has accelerated that here in the last few months as people have adopted more and more technology. So, I'm sorry, more and more online shopping behaviors. What we do with our clients is deploy what we call a 3-step process, and it's really building a nice sustainable foundation by really making sure we're evaluating the foundation, making sure we're executing on best-in-class listings, that we have inventory, that we are selling items that are reasonable to expect a consumer to purchase, but also will be profitable for Amazon and profitable for the client as well. And really deploying these strategies and tactics to grow the business over and over. Then we move into marketing strategies and tactics. So that's where we bring in media, whether it's search or display advertising, different tactics that we can approach, coupling those with promotions, other marketing retail programs as well, to continue to grow the business in a very sustainable way. And of course, evaluating and refining. And I would say working with, for Amazon, they're not a platform that you can set it and forget it. You definitely need to have your eye on the ball because things will go sideways really, really quickly as soon as you take your eye off the ball. So having a partner like Beekeeper, especially in a time when we're seeing the spikes that we are, can really, really go a long way if you don't have an in-house team to take care of the business for you. So if we can move on to the next slide. I'd love to talk about how COVID has impacted how consumers shop. So as evident in these statistics here, we saw a seismic and really quick shift from consumers shopping at their local grocery stores to really adopting shopping online for their groceries. This was done out of fear, but also necessity, as normal brick and mortar retailers couldn't keep up with the demand. As all of us probably saw, you'd walk into a Costco and there's 0 toilet paper on the shelf. I ran into that. I went to Amazon, I got my toilet paper, we're good. But so retailers like Amazon, so Amazon.com, Prime Now, Prime Pantry, Amazon Fresh, Prime Now for Whole Foods, for example, click and collect platforms like Walmart online grocery pickup, Kroger ClickList, and Instacart really saw an increase in shoppers as well. Here in the Seattle suburbs, actually, we used Amazon Fresh, and it was taking about 4 days for us to get it, when normally it would only take us a couple of hours to get our delivery. So huge peaks as we saw things go through here. Thanks for flipping to the next slide there. So in addition to panic buying, consumer shopping behaviors have just changed in general. As you can imagine, more consumers are doing more online shopping, and given most cities and shopping establishments are still shut down. We are still shut down here, although we're slowly opening here in the Seattle area. But we don't have access to shopping beyond grocery stores, Target and Walmart, etc. So if I wanted a retail fix, I really have to go online, as we all have. So, and then further, we're all taking up new hobbies, looking for new things to do at home, things to keep our kids busy. As I'm hearing mine in the background, I apologize if you can hear that. Online really has been the way that we've been able to do this. Personally, I can't tell you the number of things that I have purchased online, I have time to try them now. I'm a little embarrassed to even admit some of those things that I've purchased, but I did. But consumers are really changing the way they shop for food and moving to the online platforms. And this is because they're afraid to go into public, or that they're trying to do their part and not be in those stores. Or they have kids at home and they can't have them in tow. So really starting to see the convenience of shopping online. So here's some trends we saw during the COVID period. So online food sales jumped by 183% over March, year over year, from the time frame of March 1st to the 25th, with the bulk of the volume coming between the 12th and the 13th, which is really where we saw that significant peak. And that was at 210% higher than last year in that same time frame. So really significant growth. Online shopping app downloads grew significantly in February and March, as you can see here to the right for some of the key shopping apps, so Instacart, Walmart, and Shipt. And then if we can flip to the next slide from there, this is just, I think this is just so fascinating here, is how shopping behaviors have shifted online. Like electronics is usually playing there at the top in terms of growth. And now we're seeing books up there, cleaning items, sports and outdoor products, toys and games, and groceries at 113%. We expected to see this behavior change and grow 10 times within the next 10 years. We had no idea it would do this as quickly as it did just in this short period of time. So pretty exciting there. Exciting, but unfortunate given the circumstance. So, so moving on to the next slide. I really can't tell you how often I have said over the last 3 months, I'm so glad I work in the industry I do. It has never been as important as it is right now, and our business here at Beekeeper has never been as busy as it is right now. I mean, these are all amazing things under unfortunate circumstances, but we're really starting to see a shift happen. And we're seeing that more and more of our clients are putting more of a focus on Amazon and their e-commerce businesses than they ever had before. Amazon traditionally had always been like, oh, it's a nice to have, or oh, it's one of our smaller customers, and now it's one of their bigger ones, and it's pretty exciting to see. So making Amazon a priority here is so much more important than it was earlier this year, just given how online shopping is being adopted rapidly. You know, not as many retailers, a lot of retailers can't move to it as quickly. They're working towards it, but they're not there yet. So moving to these platforms that are already doing it, it has become more and more important. The consumers are more apt to try different shopping methods and so forth. So lots of cool things here. Feel free to read through this. I won't take up too much time going through all of it, but if we can jump to the next slide. We just really wanted to call out that Amazon has gone from a nice to have for most of our clients to an absolute must, like I was mentioning previously. Their brick and mortar businesses aren't doing as well as they once did before, and now they're starting to shift, consumer buying behaviors are starting to shift to Amazon. So there is definitely more of a focus here. So in March of 2020, we saw 2.54 billion visitors on Amazon, which is up 65% year over year. This is significant. And as you can see from the right, I'm just fascinated by this grid. Something we're constantly looking at here at Beekeeper, especially as we're managing our clients' media, as we're looking at keywords and so forth to put into their content, because we are working with a search algorithm, is how people are searching online. So this is a snapshot of the top 10 keywords in January, in February, and then in March. And what's really interesting to see is in January, it's mostly kind of, there's N95 masks, there's surgical masks, but for the most part, it's iPhone cases and Apple Watch bands and jerseys and earbuds. Come February, we can see more of a mix of sort of I'll call them pandemic related searches, as well as a mix of the fun things. And then in March 2020, it's 100%, the top 10 is all items related to things that we're being told we need in the case of this pandemic. So toilet paper, hand sanitizers, N95 masks, thermometers, all that good stuff. I know I actually tried to go buy a thermometer in the midst of this, and my thermometer is terrible. It never works right. Couldn't find one and if I could, it was like $100 for a stick thermometer that was normally 10 bucks. So pretty crazy what we're seeing here. So, so if you can jump to my last slide, just from the Beekeeper perspective, here we saw a 54% week over week increase in grocery products during the week of March 15th, which is that week that was kind of the major panic buying week. We had definitely seen a softening in the category, but are still sustaining a significantly higher new normal. We don't expect that we're going to fall down to the normals where we were before and growing off of that. We saw a peak. We're starting to flatten, we're starting to do this, but where we maybe started here, we might have our new normal up here. So definitely seeing that happen. I think something I'd love to call out here, while this is showing grocery, in the beauty space, we actually have a few clients that play heavily in the beauty category, and we saw a spike in face, hair and nail and foot care the week of April 13th. And I contend that those of us who've been locked down forever have now taken things into our own hands and are buying things to do it ourselves at home. So it was really interesting to see that evaluation I was doing for one of my clients, that we saw that tick back up there. And that's the best hypothesis I can come up with, because I 100% did it myself. So all right, with that, I will stop and hand it over to the next presenter.
Cambria, do you have any data yet on what's happened from April and May? Have we seen the trends hold at least at that increased level? Or has it come all the way back to the pre-COVID normal?
No, it's definitely not. It's coming down, but it's not coming back down to the pre-COVID normal. So we definitely saw the spike. As you can see here, you start to see it flatten and then start to decline. We are seeing some declines also in May, but not as low as they were before. We literally had clients that were pacing at, they were growing, but like right before COVID, they maybe were selling $25,000 a month, and COVID hit. Now we're at $100,000, over almost $200,000 a month. It's looking like they'll probably settle down in the 100K a month range, maybe a little bit lower, and we'll grow off of that as we get into our new, what our new normals is once we're through the crisis and we're kind of adapting to what life looks like with COVID in the world.
Can you take just a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about how do people buy the equivalent of SEO inside Amazon, and what did the smartest brands do at the peak of the crisis? Where were they spending, and how did they react to that in real time?
Yes, so SEO is incredibly critical on Amazon. It's algorithm based. It's like Google. So the keywords that we're using in the detail pages is going to help influence what organic search will result in, as well as those keywords that we use in search advertising as well. Something that we worked with all of our clients to do when we started to see the writing on the wall about mid-February, we realized, we've got to really evaluate what we're doing for our client, like how our clients are approaching their businesses on site. So we looked at trends in terms of keywords, and we made recommendations on things to update so that we could influence organic search and increase the relevancy for search advertising. So making sure we had things like, we couldn't use the word coronavirus or COVID. Amazon was actually suppressing listings for doing that, but putting things like stock up, long shelf life, pantry loading, keywords that were really, really relevant to that product, making sure that they were either visible to what the consumer can see or in the hidden keywords on the backside. Then in terms of advertising, we made those same types of shifts over there. And, tweaking our keywords, adding additional campaigns so that we were sure to really be elevating products that consumers were looking for in a kind of their panic searches, so they didn't have to dig far to get them. So really shifting how we use those keywords based on the trends that we were seeing, and how people were shopping and the way people were searching. So we have some tools here through third-party technology where we can understand what key terms people are using, what the search volume is, and when we started to see those spikes, we really shifted and made those changes as well. And I think doing that helped those products get higher in search, so that it was getting in front of people at the time that they were really, really looking for it there. Another tactic we did was really make sure that our clients shifted away from using discounts, and reallocating the dollars that we had for budget for coupons and lightning deals, that type of thing, and putting that over to search advertising where we could really, really drive demand and get their products higher in Amazon search, in those really relevant searches there. So it gave us more dollars to cast a much wider net.
So this is going to be a highly inaccurate question, but bear with me. But if you were a brand doing $1 million in volume on Amazon, what ought you to be spending on that SEO program? And what did people, like, where was their base normal? And then what did they start to spend in crisis mode? If you understand.
Yeah. It's definitely varied client by client based on their budgets. In some cases, we even shut off media for some of the larger brands that really people already knew what they were looking for. They were looking for them by brand names. They were coming up. There was no need for us to spend. And in other cases, it was an opportunity for brands who are newer to the platform, who don't have as much brand awareness, to come in and buy up that advertising space that they otherwise probably couldn't beat out like these really large CPG companies before. So I would say, if you've got $1 million business, we've definitely seen a range. It really depends on the strategy. I'd say it's probably 10% to 20% of sales type spend, but it really, that's if we're really going for ROI focused. If we're looking for a KPI of impressions, for example, we might spend more than that. We do have clients that investment spend. We do have clients that spend for ROI. So to take a step back, yes, we were leaning in more, taking those promotional dollars, putting them into search to cast that wider net. But we did have some cases where we reeled that back because it was a very well-known brand that was already coming up high in search. And there wasn't a need for us to put our dollars there per se, but also we needed to support in other ways, whether it be outside of Amazon, or we're reserving those dollars for once we're kind of through this to kind of pick the sales back up to where they were from there. But it's not an easy question to answer because every client's a little bit differently there.
So if I'm a small brand, how frequently, what's a reasonable cycle of evaluating the spend and the change in programs? It clearly can't be daily. Everybody would lose their mind.
Yeah.
But what does a normal cycle look like? And then, do you recommend that people have the emergency playbook, like if X happens, then we've already thought through, how we're gonna respond?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll answer that question first. Yes, I think that's definitely the case, and something we're definitely doing here at Beekeepers, having a redux. This is how we are going to approach this should this happen in the future. Knock on wood, it doesn't. But if we see these kind of unprecedented events, what do we do and how do we do it? And we feel pretty good about what we did for our clients. Yes, we've had some tough learnings along the way. Everybody has. But I think in general, the way we were able to pivot and update the detail pages with the right search term, the right terms, so that we're indexing for search properly, that we're pivoting appropriately for search advertising and promotions really went a long way. So I definitely think having some sort of a contingency plan based on the learnings that you had during this period can really go a long way. And, you know, Beekeeper has our, you know, what we know we'll do, but it will vary client by client because there are nuances and so forth. Because there's other things that we can't, you know, they didn't anticipate, the brands didn't anticipate this happening either. We did see significant out of stocks and issues there. I mean, we're still on allocation models for several of our clients right now where we just cannot maintain inventory at Amazon because they simply can't keep up with what's being purchased outside of Amazon's or on Amazon or other retailers on top of that. So I apologize, I went into that diatribe and now forgot what the first question was.
Just curious, what would you recommend for smaller brands? What's their refresh cycle about looking at the spend, looking at the mix? How frequently ought they to be doing this?
So here at Beekeeper, we often will lay out an annual plan and model out where we think that spend will take us in normal circumstances. I mean, clearly that kind of went out the window about 2 months ago for us, but we are evaluating how we're spending on a quarterly basis. And I would say 95% of the time we are pivoting and making shifts on a quarterly basis. So we might run campaigns for a 3-month period, we're constantly optimizing and so forth. We have, you know, technology, we have humans evaluating, we are looking at it and reviewing it with our clients monthly, but we usually will make some sort of a shift on a quarterly basis. So we want to give the tool enough time to run the campaigns, optimize on its own, let us make the optimizations as well, and really see, are we getting the most for the dollars we're spending? And is it still right for what's happening in the marketplace right now? Because it can change very fast. So I would say at least quarterly. I would not be looking at it weekly or daily, but evaluate definitely, you know, you can make optimizations, but in terms of doing those deep dives and really looking to make really big shifts, I would make the optimizations, but I would probably look to make those bigger shifts more on a quarterly basis, but you know, if you needed to more often, you know, if we're really seeing something's not working, on a monthly basis as well.
Okay. Well, so maybe that is a good shift to Amy. Amy, maybe you can do a little bit more, just 10 seconds more on your background and bio. But part of the reason that that's a good shift is when I think of Cauliflower Foods, one of the things I think about is you were able to build a business where you reacted incredibly rapidly on the fly. You were constantly iterating. Can you talk about how you came to Amazon and e-commerce and why, and you know, what were those first learnings for you about launching in that method?
Yeah, so we launched online in January of 2017. We did not go right into Amazon. We went directly into Facebook ads and really stumbled across how to make a big impact with our consumers. First of all, we were lucky because we were a new brand in a new category and one of the first. So that did happen for us, and that was a blessing. But also we used a method called story brand, which is really talking about the customers that were using our product more so, and their successful outcomes more so than talking about just our product. And I feel even to this day that even in the climate we're in right now, that's more important than ever, is really connecting with your consumer. So you can spend all this money on e-com and you can be a big presence through ad spend on Amazon, but if you're not connecting with your consumer, it is basically a waste of money, in my opinion, and what I've seen with Cauliflower Foods. So we started sharing stories and testimonials, and literally one of those stories, I call it, it went viral, because in January of 2017, we sold more on one story on Facebook than we had the entire year in 2016. And then we just built momentum on that. And so I feel like everything that Cambria said, by the way, I agree with you on the personal spiking, because I dyed my hair myself for the first time ever in my life. And I realized I'm almost fully gray after about a month of being in COVID. So I agree with you on that one, definitely. And I agree with you on everything that you said. So I feel like it's really important to build that loyal following more than ever and to really hear your customers. So there's a lot of noise right now online. There has been the last few months. And so how do you break through all that noise? I think it's really important to partner with other brands and have influencers helping you promote your brand. We built Cauliflower Foods after I heard Mark Sisson talk at Nosh, and I really followed in his footsteps, which was reaching out to those micro influencers and sharing them using our products. That's how we started building a robust community and a following. And that allowed us to go from Facebook to Amazon. We launched in Amazon in March of 2017. And we just kept growing and growing. We didn't go right into grocery because we didn't have the money to go into grocery. Excuse me. The margins allowed us to slowly go into grocery. But more importantly, after building a robust following online using Instagram, Facebook, Amazon, our platform was Shopify, LinkedIn, Twitter a little bit, Pinterest a lot. After using those platforms to really engage in our customers, doing quite a few back and forth, I hired a pretty robust customer service team. So I had a lot of people engaging in on those social platforms with people. We started getting buyers asking for our brand. Instead of us reaching out to the buyers, buyers were coming to us. And I believe it's because our consumers were asking for it in those grocery stores. So choosing the right Instagram partner, if you're going to do a collaboration, if you're a new startup brand, that's a great way to start getting engagement and start building your following, because you're going to collaborate with another brand. You're both going to share it. You want, for example, we're very popular in the keto world. So it's great for us to use other keto products because we have the same demographic, so we can complement each other. So that's how I would recommend doing collaborations on Instagram and sharing your marketing tools and getting a bigger bang for your buck. If you want to go to the next slide. So again, choosing the right partner, it's really important to look at who their followers are and their engagement and make sure that you complement each other. Obviously, you don't want to use a direct competitor, but to be in the same space is really good. And I have some examples later on to show you. But we are heavy into the low carb, simple ingredients, less is more, you know, basically keto, paleo, all of those different lifestyles, we fit there. So we try to partner with similar people that have products in that lifestyle. Next slide, please. Execution. So I have a great team that does this. We've hired photographers, we've done in-house photography. Really important to make sure that you have assets that look beautiful, that you can put on Amazon, that are going to be attractive. Amazon's got a great platform, like you said, where you can do video, you can really show your brand and show it off. And I think it's really important to invest in a good photographer, or you know, we have somebody in-house that does a great job just right off her iPhone too. So just making sure that you're showing the authenticity of your brand and really highlighting your brand. If you're doing a collaboration with another brand, and I'll show you some examples, make sure that you're including their brand. If there's a way to make your product stand out together, for example, if we do a pizza, a cauliflower pizza, and we're using, let's say, Reyes, we're going to complement how to use that product with our product. That's really important. It draws an eye. Again, you're getting their followers, you're getting your followers. Pretty basic, but I see a lot of times people aren't doing it correctly. They may not show what you can do with both products, and the photography is just very much key. The other thing I think is really important is when you do these collaborations, and let's say it is on Instagram, you need to make sure that you have somebody engaging. So, I often see brands that are not engaging with their consumers, and that is just low hanging fruit. And when we first got started, I had no money to hire a customer service and engagement team. So what I did was I hired high school students or college students, interns, trained them on our message to make sure that they knew exactly crystal clear how to communicate with those people. But often it was a great platform to be able to say, if somebody said, oh, I love this product, oh, how do you love it? Tell us your recipe that you love, or where do you shop? And it's a great way, low hanging fruit, to tell people where you're at or where you want to go and have them help you. The other thing we did was we hired stay-at-home moms, 4 hours a day engagement while their kids were sleeping. And just a nice little side job. They were already ordering our product. They were passionate about it. It allowed them to have a little side money, but it also allowed us to reach every single customer 24/7. So again, that low hanging engagement is really key to make sure that you're communicating. Communication is the key so that you can get to know your customers and really know what they want. And the next slide. Instagram takeovers, it's something that I used to do quite often in the early days, mainly because I was building a foundation and a relationship with these influencers, and you could pay them a lot, but you can really actually work with them on negotiating what those payments will be and having them take over your Instagram for a day. They make amazing products. Usually obviously with your product. And so it just keeps the engagement going. If you've got an influencer that has a pretty high following, chances are their following is going to start following your brand. So it's really key. We've done things like radio and things like that, but I really feel like being engaged one-on-one with your consumer and having those influencers help you really highlight your product, that is the key, more so than doing billboards or radio station interviews. We've done it all, but I see the biggest bang for your buck with working with influencers, even the micro influencers. Excuse me, Mark Sisson often, sorry about that. Mark Sisson would often, as he said in Nosh, in one of his Nosh performances, he said that he sent out 300 products a month to micro influencers. So he wasn't looking for those big influencers that often do Instagram takeovers, but the smaller everyday moms. We have several that sell our product and do a great job selling our product for us, and they get an affiliate fee. So that's another way that you can build your following, by paying your influencers a small fee to promote your brand. But again, just people that really are passionate about your brand and that believe in it, to kind of, especially in this time, to break through the noise. It's more voices talking about your brand. And don't discount the smaller followers, the smaller influencers.
So Amy, I want to maybe then take some of what each of you have just said and see if I can distill it down. And I'm gonna, I don't know whether we need like thumbs up, thumbs down voting, or 1 to 10 scores, but I just want to kind of bang through some things that each of you have said and make sure that our audience is hearing it. I heard you both talk about the strength of the margin opportunity in DTC. Can you talk, Amy, what did you notice was the advantage of not having that intermediated sale? Like, how much more margin could you capture going direct?
Okay, so yeah, margin, you don't have the middleman. So a little bit different on Amazon because you do have those fees. But again, it's like Cambria said, so many people are on Amazon. So it's a huge, many more people are on Amazon than they are in a particular grocery store. So it's definitely a way to capture a huge audience. We built our business. Our business was about 10% Amazon, and the rest was direct to consumer. And I really believe it was because we could, and you can do this through Amazon, it's just a little bit in a different way, but that direct communication. For example, we often sent out Survey Monkeys to find out, and we strategically placed the questions to find out what our consumers wanted so we could go ahead and appease what they wanted. For example, early on, a lot of people wanted a dairy-free option. we were able to accommodate that. But before putting in our resources to building that dairy-free option and putting it out in the market, as you know, it's very expensive to launch a new product, we made sure that that's indeed what the consumer really wanted through those survey monkeys, through that direct engagement with our customers. And that really helps on the margins because you can figure out exactly what your consumer is looking for prior to investing all that money into packaging and production and putting out something that ends up flopping. So it also can backfire on you. I thought, early on, and this is a few years ago, our consumers wanted to see more protein. So we put more protein. We happened to put too much protein in. And so our customers immediately let us know. But before we did another run, which would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, we went back into the mode of reformulating and cutting out some of that protein to be more, our customers were more favorable on that specific amount of protein. So
Amy, you're talking about getting some of that dynamic marketing data. Cambria, let me ask you about Amazon and the ability to get aggregated data. Can you get demographic and geographic data? Can you get reorder analytics? Can you get price sensitivity analytics? Like, what kind of data comes out of a platform like that that can drive growth?
That is a loaded question. Amazon holds a lot of their data pretty close, but they're, depending on how you sell. So if you are a vendor, meaning Amazon's ordering from you direct, they're placing purchase orders, you're shipping it to them, they're then setting a retail price and selling it to the consumer as Amazon. They do take co-op deductions, as Amy mentioned. But we are able to see in there, depending on the analytics that you can actually purchase expanded analytics that does have some demographic information, has regional information, has shipped COGS, that kind of thing, but we do not see the consumer names. We don't have a way to communicate with the consumers other than through reviews and questions that the consumers might pose. If you are selling on the platform that's called Seller Central, this is their consignment model. You can actually, there's a couple of key ways to identify the differences between these, a seller versus a vendor on Amazon when you're looking at a detail page. But if you are selling as a third-party seller, you control your inventory, you control your retail price, and you can either choose to drop ship to the consumer or ship it to Amazon and they will fulfill it to the consumer for you. So they basically become a warehouse. In that case, they have to show you who's making those purchases, and you can actually communicate with them through the platform, through your login as a seller. There are some really nice tools out there. One is through Seller Labs. It's called Feedback Genius, that you can actually set up an automated email. We have a lot of clients that do this, and you can set them up to send at different times, and that can actually open up the lines of communication as well. So for example, you can't go into Seller Central and send a message to one of your consumers and say, please email me or call me. They're going to block that email address and phone number. But if you use these third-party tools that will auto send an email, you can actually invite them to come back and communicate with you there as well. So you will get you can try to collect some information that way, but Amazon really does hold a lot of it very, very close. And certainly through Seller Central, they don't have the demographic information as well. You can figure out kind of regionally where your products are going to, because obviously you're covering sales tax, that kind of thing. So they have to report that back to you. You can export the data and kind of back into it. So it's not terribly robust, but there is some there.
Okay. For each of you, do you offer subscription purchasing at the beginning, or do you offer subscription purchasing only with those kinds of discounts when you're bigger?
I can start if that's okay, Amy. So traditionally, Amazon won't even allow you to do subscriptions until you've met certain criteria. They will not make a consumer promise like that until you've proven that you can maintain the inventory, that you're pretty solid there. I'm a firm believer in subscribe and save, but I will say it varies client by client. So subscribe and save subscribers, you are incentivizing them to opt in for a regular repeat delivery purchase, so they don't have to log in and push the buy button. It just shows up and you're rewarding them with a 5 to 15% discount. And that discount range is based on the number of subscriptions that particular consumer has anywhere on Amazon. So it's not just with your brand. So in my opinion, why not reward those who are loyal and offer that type of discount? That said, I actually work with a company right now that they prefer to move things over to their subscriptions over to their D2C model because it's more favorable for them. So we're actually exploring how to move them away from Subscribe and Save, knowing full well, I think Subscribe and Save makes up 40% of their monthly business. It's significant, but it's worth it to them to take that hit to move forward with a different strategy so that Amazon is selling certain products, their website's selling others, and that they offer the subscriptions there. So I can certainly see it from both perspectives. Obviously, I'm like, I want to sell. I don't want to lose 40% of sales, but looking at the broader business and understanding what their broader strategy is, if I was in their shoes, I'd want to do the same thing too. So it really depends on the needs of our clients. We definitely see the gamut, but not everybody can do what they can do. So, I'm a big fan of Subscribe and Save. I believe in it.
Yeah, we have a subscription model. It's direct to consumer. The key with that, though, that can get you in trouble, and it got me in trouble early on, is if you've got to make sure your discount, you don't offer a different discount that's better to the general public, because it can bite you. You got to make sure that your discount, whatever you're offering your subscription, isn't going to go against what you're offering the general public, because it can come back to hurt you, and you get people immediately that want to unsubscribe to you because they can get a better discount somewhere else. So you've got to make sure that you're thinking of them first. But again, I keep talking about relationship building. Subscription is a great platform to be able to learn what your consumer wants and have that direct conversation with them. So I think it's really important to have a subscription business.
Okay.
And you can count on that income too. Sorry, you can count on that income too, which again helps you when you're trying to do other things like advertise on Amazon or launch a new product. You have that income you count on.
And there's tools that you can use on Amazon in particular that, you can put up, a coupon, for example, that's for the first Subscribe and Save purchase only. So not only would they get that 5%, they could get whatever, like let's say you offer 25% discount. You can actually do that. You can actually execute on display campaigns that really encourage that. Something that we're seeing as well is something we're looking at is with some of our clients as we're coming out of COVID is looking at display retargeting campaigns. And those are campaigns where we deliver ads. It's a much lower funnel campaign. We deliver ads to those who have visited the detail pages in the last 30 days and invite them to come back and make a purchase. We can do a similar campaign to go after people who've made the purchase in the last 30 days and invite them to come back and subscribe. So again, there's lots of great ways to do that and ways to encourage that, but it all has to do with the brand's strategy.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, how important is creating a giftable product for your base so that they can, viral is probably the wrong word to use these days, but right, they can expand your marketing for you by sending your product to other people.
Go ahead.
You go.
I think it's very important. Again, the more voices that you have, the more connection. There's a lot of noise right now online, so breaking through that noise. It starts with a very authentic product, staying true to who you are, but really connecting with your consumer, engaging with them, knowing what they want, building that relationship. I can't stress that enough. If you don't have that one-on-one relationship, you're not going to grow as fast as maybe some of the other competitors out there. There are some brands that do it phenomenal, and they have tremendous loyal followings. So I think it's really important for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, all right. Tell me a little bit about, Amy, you experienced this more directly probably, Cambria, than you experienced it firsthand, but the logistics problems of selling both, certainly DTC, but probably less so if you're drop shipping pallets of things to Amazon and letting them deal with it. But what are the supply chain challenges of working in this environment?
Yeah, for sure. It can be a challenge. I mean, the most effective way that we've been able to provide a seamless transition there is through fulfillment ourselves. Now, I don't say that you shouldn't use Amazon. We've never done that. We did use a third party for frozen. Frozen's really expensive, so that's hard to do in-house. For our shelf-stable products, though, we have a fulfillment center. I love doing it in-house because we can go ahead and we can create bundles the way that we want to. We don't have the extra fees of fulfilling it. It's just simply one of our employees doing it. We can also put inserts in. So if we're wanting to make an impact in grocery, we can put advertisements into our boxes. We can put in recipes. We've done all kinds of things where we're just giving that consumer a little added bonus. And when you're fulfilling it yourself, you're able to do that. So definitely, but it's great to have an agency to help you offset some of the problems that can occur, because, you know, people lose their packages. If they don't get their package and they write a bad review, you've got to offset that right away, because it will multiply in negativity, and you don't want that for your product.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you're right. Most of our clients do ship into Amazon, and there's that their own inherent sets of guidelines and rules that they don't bend on. But we do have a few clients that do drop ship because either they're frozen or they're refrigerated, or in the summer months, we do work with chocolate and like gummy vitamins, for example. Those don't go well in the summer either. So they have to actually drop ship those to the consumer. I can't stress enough, like you brought up a really great point around selection. Selection is so, so important. Like you want to make sure that it's not too big to, you know, stop trial, but you don't want to make it too small so you can't be profitable. So being able, when you're able to drop ship, like what Amy's talking about, you don't have to pre-make your variety packs, for example, or smaller pack sizes. You can actually just, you know, as an order comes in, drop ship it to the consumer. That said, you know, there aren't a lot of, you know, a lot of companies can't do it in-house too. Like they have to use third-party fulfillment partners. And honestly, like we will usually push people towards using fulfillment by Amazon models, either through Seller Central or just Vendor Central shipping the pallets into the warehouse, versus drop shipping if there isn't any type of heat sensitivity or fragility that we need to be really conscious of. However, we will use those drop ship models if our client has the ability to do so, to try out like new variety packs and pack sizes to see if they have legs before they do all the work to build pallets and pallets of these bundles to ship into Amazon, because Amazon's not going to make them for you. So, so yeah, we definitely see that supply chain could not be more, is one of the most critical pieces to working with Amazon. We actually have a few different departments at Beekeeper, but our three core teams are the business management team, the team I lead, our media team, and our supply chain team. And we have a team that's all they do, is they work to understand what Amazon's requirements are, put it in a way that we can communicate it out to our clients in a way that's understandable, because that can be really challenging with Amazon. But one of the things they love to do is they love to put that detective hat on and put puzzles together and really, you know, figure out what needs to happen to make it all work together properly.
Okay.
And again, it's a great way to connect with your customer, that customer experience, that unveiling of the box. We went through this whole thing early on in 2017 when we were rapidly growing online, and we didn't even know if this was a thing, but people started filming themselves opening our boxes because they weren't sure what little surprises they were going to get. We called it lanyard, which is a Louisiana term for something a little extra special, but it was like the unveiling of the cauliflower box. So you can make it a great customer experience, but you better have a lot of support, because USPS and UPS and FedEx, especially during these times, it isn't always consistent. So you want to be able to catch that if somebody doesn't get their product or if it's damaged or what have you.
Kind of like getting a six box. Yay, it's in here.
Scale of 1 to 10, how painful is sales tax tracking?
Sales what?
Sales tax tracking.
Well, I'll be honest, like I think Amy will probably be able to speak to that a little bit better than I can, because it's not an area that we play in. Our clients actually have to work with companies like TaxStar, for example, to do that. If they're selling third party, we kind of back up a little bit on that one. But Amy, I'll turn it over to you. You probably have much more experience with that than I do.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had some good experience, but my hands are kind of off in that area right now. So, but we've had really good experience, and I don't really have anything negative to say about that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Easy enough. Tell me about price maintenance, MAP policies, race to the bottom, you know, always going for a cheaper price, trying to get that consumer in an environment where they're one click away from your competitors and a cheaper price. And we're going to probably run out of time after this, but if you can, link that question around price maintenance and making sure that you're establishing your value relative to your price to how you create long-term shareholder value in an environment like this where you are, you know, disconnected and both connected to them in very unusual ways versus a traditional retailer.
Amy, I'm wondering, just given time, if you want to kind of speak to that from the brand side at a high level, and I can talk about how that works on Amazon side if we have a little time.
Well, our direct to consumer, again, I keep saying the same thing, it allows us to talk to our consumers directly. So I think that that has been a huge advantage for us. Going nationwide into grocery, you don't get that advantage to be able to speak one-on-one with your consumer, but you can through social media. And that's why I started to talk about working with influencers and collaborations with other brands, because definitely being able to answer questions with engagement and stuff is going to eliminate any problems that you might not be able to eliminate at the grocery store level. So I think it's really important.
So I think what you're saying is don't be an Amazon marketplace seller if you can't also be a great social media communicator at the same time.
Well, with Amazon in particular, and again, when I was actively running our e-com business, it was only 10% of our business. Not by choice, it just happened to be that way. But we were able to communicate direct to consumer through our social media avenues. And it did get us into grocery stores. We were actually approached by various different grocery stores because of our social media and because of the influence we had in that area with influencers and so forth. So you can communicate directly with your customers, even your Amazon customers, even though it's not directly through Amazon.
Yeah. And from the Amazon side, you know, Amazon is a price follower for their direct business. So they're matching to other e-tailers that are out there, third-party sellers. Sometimes they are even matching in store at a price per ounce or a price per unit level as well. We've definitely seen that as well. But third-party sellers are a challenge on Amazon. The beauty about Amazon is anyone can sell anything on Amazon. The not so great thing is they can sell your products. So really having a really solid understanding of your distribution and a tight grip on your distribution to prevent any leaks will go a long, long way. When we see issues with third-party sellers undercutting our retail prices or Amazon's retail prices, it's because of getting it cheaper somewhere else. And the problem with that happening is Amazon will price follow that down. And if you have a direct relationship, they will do what's called, pardon the term, crapping out an ASIN. CRAP stands for cannot realize a profit. So they basically will say, we're not going to source this anymore from you. You have to sell it as a third party and you deal with whatever money you lose, or you need to come to the table with something else. So having a really firm handle on your distribution, where things are going, can really go a long way. I recently had an issue with a client who did a rebrand. They sold their old branded product to grocery outlet. Third-party sellers bought that product for pennies on the dollars and completely undercut them on Amazon. We couldn't win the buy box at all. I purchased the product. It all showed up with the old branded product coming from a third-party seller, and we basically didn't have sales for 3 months. So just a really good example of not only having a firm handle on your distribution, but being really, really careful about liquidation and where that's happening, or trying to avoid it altogether. I realize it's something that has to happen, but you know, sometimes there's a way to mitigate it that can really go a long way too. Because Amazon's not going to abide by MAP. So really, it's up to you as the brand to have a firm handle on your distribution, have a distribution policy that outlines where they can and cannot sell, and deploy MAP policies against those guys and ensure that they follow MAP and your other e-tailers. And Amazon should follow suit if you are a direct vendor.
That's excellent information, by the way. Excellent advice.
So I have about 1,000 more questions, but we have -2 minutes. So I'm going to mostly just say thank you so much. I want to remind everybody that Nutter and Green Circle are hosting an upcoming program on June 29th at 8 p.m. and to check into our LinkedIn feed to see upcoming programs. Cambria or Amy, first, thank you. And second, is there anything you want to announce or highlight people, to come to or see, watch, learn?
No, I really appreciate you inviting me to join. This was great. And if you have any questions, I don't know if you're going to send out our contact info, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you again. We have new products launching, so look for those. And we're always staying authentic and simple ingredients that you can read and understand. So thank you for having us.
Thank you both. Everyone stay safe.
You as well.